historic B-17. Taking to the sky on the iconic bomber is an experience that will never be forgotten. For the touring schedule, reservations, or more information, go to b17texasraiders.org or call 855-FLY-A-B-17.
Thank you for listening to Lone Star Community Radio. This program was broadcasted and recorded live from the LSCR studios in downtown Conroe, Texas. Lone Star Community Radio is supported by listeners like you. Donate and sponsor today. For more information on getting involved with Lone Star Community Radio, contact us at lscrstudios@gmail.com or visit us online at www.irlonestar.com.
You are listening to Lone Star Community Radio on 104.5 KCZW LP Conroe and 106.1 KZCC LP Conroe and worldwide at irlonestar.com.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Cindy Cochran Show. Thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. And this show is sponsored by Wootton Financial Group. Chris Wootton is the CEO, the big dog, and he is so wonderful. I can't wait for you to make the call to the Wootton Financial Group and get the free meeting that you'll have. And you know, you just like he says, kick the tires, and y'all can find out if you like each other. And Chris will always like you, but you will find out if you feel comfortable with Chris, like we did, and we love him. And I've told you about, Sam doesn't hardly like anybody or anything. And so to prove that, I have Sam as my guest today. And we're going to talk about how opposites do attract. They do attract. And we've been attracted to each other for almost 53 years. That's a long time for the attraction. And he's looking at is it 53 years? It is 53 years, right? Just shake your head. Is it 53 years that we've been married? You're not sure?
Still in shell shock.
He's still in shell shock. Great. We're off to a good start. But listen, I got to say something. My kids, of course, come home and they say, the grandchildren come home, and they talk about, school, and it's not real positive. But the things they've been saying that they think is funny and that goes on is that Cindy said, do you want to see this video I took of my teacher's snoring? And I went, what? I said, yeah, the snore. So she showed me, and the teacher was snoring. And then she told me the other day that there was a teacher that said, we were trying to do a test, and he just said, y'all just cheat. Just look what other people have and see if you think that's right and write that. That's fine. Just go ahead and cheat. And he went back to reading the paper, whatever he was doing. And I said, he told you to go ahead and cheat? She said, yeah, he wanted us to do good. I guess. I don't know. But it was, I think he just didn't want us to bother him. But we were all looking at each other like, okay, no problem. We were doing it anyway. But now we've got permission. So I just wonder why there's not student whistleblowers. Why you can't have a student whistleblower that goes in and has protection and will not be, failed because they came in and said what the teachers were really doing. But the teachers, I think what it is so close to summer, the teachers have already left the building and in their mind, and they're on vacation already. And one of my grandchildren said she thought that may be the case, but it's terrible. But I remember that when it gets close to the end and we're almost there, and then they start bringing up tests. This is what's so stupid is, why do they do tests at the very end of the semester, and you're getting ready to go on vacation for 3 months and leave, and you're already leaving, and then they start trying to do tests, and the kids can't concentrate. The teachers don't want to, and I understand that. We have teachers in our family, and they tell us enough to where you say, okay, I understand why you want to, just walk out the door. But anyway, I had to say that, and I just wanted to get that out of my system before we started talking to my guest, my husband.
Isn't that like how every school works though, Cindy? Like there's always going to be a test or something at the end of the semester.
I don't remember taking tests right at the end. We were just
like finals. Finals has always been a big deal.
But that's way before it comes down to they only have 3 weeks left of school. And so during that time, we were like taking off the covers of our book.
Oh, so finals is already over.
Yeah, finals are over.
Oh, see, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Usually finals for me was like the last week of school.
Really? That's horrible. Didn't you go to the Christian school?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was great, though, because if you had already like a 99 and you can just skip the final, but like.
Well, I remember that. I
They
remember
just leave.
if you were
It's
at a
like, I don't
certain
have to go. Give me a 0. What are you going to do?
Well, I wish the principal would know about what was going on. I think that they should. If they expect the kids to stay awake during the class, the teachers should too. I mean, I think.
Yeah, I think there were scenarios, especially at the school I went to, where teachers kind of sniffed what was going on for finals. So they would do special things where, like, all right, if you had this much of a grade, you literally don't have to come for the next 3 classes.
Oh man!
Because you're good enough. Like, you already finished your projects, you did all that stuff. So there were certain years where, like, I literally only had to go to school 1 day a week because I was already done with my stuff.
Were you real smart?
No, I just knew how to turn in stuff on time. That was really.
That's what Cindy said. Cindy said, I found out the teachers they just want you to make an effort, and that if you stay awake,
just show up.
Class,
Just show up to class.
Show up, and they actually. They actually like that, and they give you a good grade.
Because those are the teachers I really hated were the ones that would teach during their normal hours, and then they test you on stuff that you were supposed to study outside of school. So, like,
and not with you.
Yeah, so, like, I was like, so what's the point of coming in for the hour if we're not going to be tested over this?
And see, Sam is just itching to jump into this.
And
fray.
why would you want student whistleblowers? Doesn't that give power to the students, which would be chaos?
Yes. Well, they have to prove it. I mean, I think that they should put a camera in every single classroom. Every single classroom needs to have a camera in it. And that way there's no doubt about, I think the teachers would, stand up probably and teach, and the kids would not be throwing things or hitting people and doing things like that in class. So
yeah,
I just think it would be smart. But one of my daughter's teacher said, "You can't do that. I don't want a camera in there and just show me going off on these kids and telling them what I think of them." But I think it would help.
Well, the next thing that's going to happen, though, Cindy, is AI is going to start teaching the kids.
Mm-hmm. That's right. And AI should take over the umpiring baseball games. I think that's going to have to happen.
Know. See, I really like it when they yell at each other. Like, that's a lot of fun.
You do?
Yeah, there's a YouTube channel that does lip reading, and so every time there's a big confrontation, he slows it down. He's like, "This is what I mean. Let's just play the game. Beep 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 beep. Like, we just want to play the game. Give us a chance."
There was one time during the game last night, the Astros, and they had a real tight shot of the guy that ran from first to second, and he didn't know what had happened, and he thought he had to go back to first, and the umpire was saying, "No, you're safe, you're safe, you're safe." Like, stay. But you could read his lips so well. And he didn't say a curse word, but he just said, like, "What happened?" And the umpire was trying to explain to him, "You're okay, everything's fine." So it was an exciting game, and we're going to talk about that. That's the main thing I want Sam to talk about, because that's been such a bonding thing for us, is going in and watching the games, because there's a lot of things we don't agree on, but the Astros, music, stuff like that,
the important things.
The important things. I just wish it could have been the children, because that's the only thing we fight over about is the children, like what they don't do, and I don't want them to be mean to them. So anyway, we're going to take a quick break, and then we'll be right back. So please don't go away, because you just won't believe the exciting, friendly, sweet exchange that will happen right here. And I'll have it all on tape to always show him how sweet he can be. Okay, we'll be right back. Don't go away. You're on the Cindy Cochran Show.
Every week, people ask the same 2 questions. Are they ready to retire? Will their savings last for their lifetimes? Hi, this is Chris Wootton with Wootton Financial Group. Our firm has been in Montgomery County for decades, but the hopes and dreams of the people we serve never change. We help answer these two questions and many more that people have about their uncertain financial future. We have a simple introductory client experience that allows us to get to know the client and includes a few meetings for the client to kick the tires at no charge. We provide a concise, one-page summary that helps the client get a better handle on which questions are the right questions for them. To learn more about Wootton Financial Group's process of helping their clients to a clearer financial future and to see their contact information, visit Cindy Cochran's show page on irlonestar.com/TCCS. Wootton Financial Group is a proud sponsor of the Cindy Cochran Show. Wootton Financial Group is available by phone at 936-449-5952 or visit them on the web at www.woottonfinancial.com. That's www.woottonfinancial.com.
Every Friday, tune into Texas Ticket on Conroe's 104.5 and 106.1 FM with Armando Nino of Gull Lake Conroe, focusing on Montgomery County area events and places. Get a feel of the Texas spirit at the event, paired with guest and vendor interviews, event coverage, and ticket giveaways, and so much more. Join us Fridays and punch your Texas ticket. For more information on the show, visit irlonestar.com/Texas Ticket.
Okay, and you're back on the Cindy Cochran Show. Lucky you. We're going to be talking about the Astros, and we're so happy and just full of energy because the Astros won last night. And you started out, you go like, oh, come on, guys. Because, it was so pitiful, but they came back, and that's the exciting part, and you never know about with the Astros. And let me introduce you right now to my husband, Sam Cochran. Hello, Sam. How are you doing today?
Hello, sweetheart.
That's sweet.
So nice to be with you.
Thank you so much. He's going to just totally destroy everything I've ever said about him because I told people that you're very strict about, who you like, who you don't like, and what you like and don't like, that you're and very opinionated.
Well, when you're almost 82 years old, you can be whatever you want to be.
There you go. See, you want to play the age card? All right. I think that's
the only card I got to play.
That's your only card left is that. But Sam, he does like to dwell on his age and the things that go wrong. When people say, you when you're old because all you want to talk about is going to the doctor and things that are wrong with you. But there's so many right things with you. You are 80 years old, but you're so active and you do so many things, and you wake up and then you stay awake all day. That's so amazing because I don't know how you do it. After talking for an hour here, I go home and go like, okay, good night, everybody, and I'm not going to talk to anybody else. Except now we have a puppy. Puppy's name is Yaba. They named it after a singer.
Like Yabba Dabba Doo?
Well, that's what I usually end up saying because it sounds
Or are you
like
talking
that.
about ABBA?
No, it's not Abba. It's Yeba. It's Yeba. That's her name. Yeba. Yeah. And I can never remember that stupid dog's name. And they gave me another name to call it, but I can't do that. I'm not going to say those words. And so that dog has kind of taken over the house, hadn't it, honey?
I suppose.
You don't know. He doesn't know because he's not going to take care of it or do anything.
I don't pay any attention to that dog.
Well, I know. She knew that, and she came up and bit you on the back of the leg the other day, and you said you're going to become...
That's the way I deal with stuff like that you bring home. I just act like it doesn't exist.
I like it.
That's great. That's so sweet. That's how we've gotten along for over 53 years.
Boy, isn't that the truth?
If he just totally ignores what I do, it's good to go. It's good. But see, don't you think a little bit of that has been that you don't know what to expect, and so it's kind of exciting?
I don't know if I'd use the word exciting.
Oh, what word no, don't say the word you use.
Well, what's going to happen is this dog's going to just love you, Sam. And then you're going to be like, 10 years down the road, it's going to be like, okay, you can get in my lap, or you can sleep right here. And for some reason, he likes you and only you because you're the only one that kicks it.
I think that's the way it should be with not only dogs, but with people too. I mean, they got to prove themselves.
There
They
you
got to
go.
prove they're deserving of my attention and my affection. And
You know, he's always been that way because here's the deal. When I met him at DiMaggio's. It was a restaurant a long time ago. Amazing Italian restaurant. And he'd get up and sing. But he would not get up and sing until the audience begged him. And they'd clap. Come on, Sam. And he'd go, no. And they just begged him. And then he said, oh, okay, I'll get up and sing. And he would get up and sing and entertain. Everybody loved him and loved, the songs he sang. And he was a star. And he would pass by our table. These two girls and I would go to this club. And he would just, never say anything to us. But he had on a different suit every single time I saw him. It wasn't actually a zoot suit, but it was like close to being so different than the suits everybody else wore. So we got the feeling this guy must be really rich because he has all these suits and he's an entertainer. So we didn't know exactly what you did, but we thought you must be really rich. Do you remember Colleen and that other girl and would watch you? And then finally I found out that Charlie Cash and him were friends. And I met him through Charlie Cash. And that's when he realized, she is such a talent. She has no stage presence, but she's such a talent. And that was the first thing he said to me. I said, well, what do you think of my performance? He said, well, you have no stage presence at all. And I didn't know what stage presence even was, but I knew I didn't have it, and he thought I should have it. So that was the way we met. And the way he asked me to marry him, in the parking lot, he walked me out the car, and he said, hey, listen, when you grow up, would you marry me? And I said yes, didn't I?
yep, you did.
And that was only like 2 weeks later. You proposed in 5 o'clock traffic with a ring, and you said, "Hey, would you marry me?" And he flips the ring over to in the traffic, and I went, "Can you stop the car or something?" We were on the freeway.
Smart move.
Were you complimenting me or are you griping about it?
No.
I couldn't tell.
I'm saying, well, because
Apparently you were impressed enough to say yes.
well, I was afraid you'd take it back if if I didn't, because you always said, I'm going to ask. I ask a girl one time to go on a date, and if they say no, they can't, I'll never ask them again. That's the last time I ask them. So that put a lot of pressure on me. Like when you asked me out, and I said yes, he said, it's a lucky thing you said yes, because if you had said no, I'd never ask you out again. So that was unusual.
Well, I took enough rejection at what I did for a living. I didn't need to be rejected by the opposite sex all the time. So that was my reasoning behind
So you
it.
went into sales, right?
I was in sales.
Yeah, I
That's
mean, you
what
were in
did
sales.
when you met me.
Right.
That's what I did my whole life.
Yeah. Yeah, but you had some.
And I got out just in time because AI has taken that over 100%.
Oh, it'll never take over sales
Yeah,
because you
no
need
more,
to have.
no more belly-to-belly selling.
No. Well, I mean, the younger people are getting used to that, where they don't have to talk to someone
Well, it's
in
because they
person.
don't know how to talk to each other anyway, so it wouldn't do any good.
But I wanted to talk about the Astros because it was so exciting last night. But I do want to complain, and you're the only one I can complain to about the stupid things that they do. And why would you be interviewing a player on the field on the opposite team of the Astros, and he's in the field, and he's playing, and it's a live game, it's playing, and you have the booth guys asking him questions, and he's having to explain stuff and trying to watch, okay, and then they hit the ball, and he runs over to the side and comes back, and he keeps talking like, okay, so
You
anyway.
think that player wants to do that?
I don't
He doesn't
think,
want to do that.
I don't think he does.
He hates every second he's doing that.
It's
The answer to your question is in one word: ratings. The people behind the cameras or whoever in production and whatnot, they think that's sexy and that's what people want. And maybe they do.
okay. It's
Well, you know what's funny,
dumb.
Sam? I actually, I think it was when we were playing the Phillies. They had Kyle Schwarber Schwarber on it, and he they missed
I saw that.
the connection. So people
You got the impression he was, and he's, he was being nice, but he was saying,
like, why am I doing
"God,
this?
why am I doing this?"
But I started reading more about it because people were like, this is ridiculous. Why are they doing it? Well, it turns out it's voluntarily, and they get paid $10,000 to do it.
Oh, well, there you go.
Oh,
So it's voluntarily. Like they ask the teams, like, hey, does anybody want to do an interview?
Well,
And-
10 grand, it would bring out some volunteers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So-
I wonder what it would be if they didn't pay him.
Well, I bet they'd be like, no, I'm not doing that. And then the union would be like,
the
no.
only guys that they would get would be the guys that are real marginal on whether they're going to be able to stay on the team or not, and maybe they're hoping they could do some stick after.
Yeah.
Get a little recognition for it. That's the only thing I can think of.
Well, it aggravated me so bad that they were doing this, because it was it was really distracting. Then I started thinking about, that's the is that the Blue Jays? That's the other guy that they were playing. It was the Phillies. It was the enemy. So it's okay if they distract him and do that. That's fine. But when they have an Astro out there and they're talking to him, I think they did. Yeah. Who's the guy that we like?
Oh, here we
He
go.
plays third base.
Right.
Yeah, he's one they put the mic on, and they were talking to him and doing an interview with him, and he would talk and he'd say, finally he said, like, okay guys, I got to get back to the game. I mean, it was finally that he made some sense, because they kept talking to him, and he's so close to the action. If it comes to him, he's got to keep his brain on where he needs to throw it next.
Well, the only psychology behind it I can see is that I guess most people have not played baseball. If you've ever played baseball, you can't really afford to be sitting there talking, because what you're taught, if you're taught correctly from the time you're a little kid in Little League, is you're always thinking 2 or 3 plays ahead.
Right.
So you're thinking, where am I going to go to back the play up? Where am I going to throw the ball? What if this guy hits it to the right? The wind's blowing this way, so if he hits for a high pop fly, it's going to go this way. You're supposed to be thinking about all that kind of stuff. You can't be doing that and telling the guy what you had, about the linguine you had for dinner last night.
Right, I agree.
And that's the kind of questions they ask them when
Yeah,
they're out there on the
stupid
field. They don't ask them,
questions.
what are you going to do if this guy hits the ball to you?
Right.
They ask them stuff like that.
I know it.
Like, I understand you're getting married. Stuff like that.
My favorite is when they interview the managers.
Yeah.
And I think there's a great one from like last year where we're playing somebody and they were interviewing the opposite team's manager, and one of our guys hit like a grand slam or something like that. So you see him talking to the person, and all of a sudden he's like,
Yeah. Yeah, that is absolutely right. I've thought that 1,000 times.
Well, now the 8-second rule, I thought this has been great, because the games get over so fast. I can't believe how fast
Yeah.
the games go. But and that the consequences for the batter that doesn't stay engaged with them,
and the pitcher.
you're out. Well, they take him out. I mean, he's struck out. It's an out. It's considered an out if he doesn't stay watching the pitcher and make sure he's there in time.
Well, the pitcher gets the same thing. You know that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Eight,
So they
eight
get a ball.
seconds. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's been wonderful how fast the games go. But the other thing is the shift that they're talking about. They can't shift in the field. The guys that are
Infield,
playing in
yeah.
the field, they can't do that. They can't move over.
I think the outfield can.
The outfield,
You know what?
I can
On
do
that
whatever.
subject, timeout. I just thought of something that's kind of
timeout.
interesting way to look at this, and it's a good kind of way to look at the changes in society. All this how fast the game is thing, that's become a very important issue, okay, in today's world. But in the world I was raised in, and I played a lot of baseball, I knew a lot of baseball players, I even played a partial summer of professional ball. There was no rush by either the players or the viewers relative to the game. In fact, the relaxation part of the game was probably one of the biggest draws, is that there wasn't a lot of tension associated with it until you got in a close game and all that type of thing. And all the pre-play stuff was part of the game that entertained the fans. They like to watch them warm up. They like to watch them take batting practice.
Sure, that's
And they also
fine.
like to watch the psychology that was going on. When a guy would step out of the box and he'd look down for his signal, and now they don't have time to look down for their signal and all that type of thing. It was a totally different type of lifestyle, and it was the same game with the basic same rules. But the needs for what you got out of that game were completely different. And at that time, it was by far the national pastime.
Yes, right.
There was no other sport that came close to it in terms of passion or attendance.
Well,
And then slowly it was replaced by basketball. And the reason for basketball replaced it was that started to fill that attention deficit gap that society was headed toward, because it's a real fast game.
yeah, true.
Okay, and so the need to change the game the way it is a marketing need. It's not a need to improve the game. The game is not a better game because of it. It's a faster game because they can get more games on TV. They can get more people in the stands because the people can afford to get back to their texting and their TikToking, without missing anything. And
True.
There's my philosophy on why all this kind of stuff came about.
Okay, I'll write that down. Okay, so if the infield can't back up, if they can't back up and go out into the grass, that's not the problem. It's just
That's
too
not
many
the
of
rule.
the
The
people
rule is
over
they can't stand on the grass before the play starts.
before the play
If
starts.
the ball's hit and they have to go on the grass to feel the ball, they can.
Okay.
And I think there's also there's a starting position too, where like for example, like the shortstop can't go all the way to first base
Right.
and just hang out there, or
Yeah.
vice like they have a zone.
And what they're trying to prevent, like a left-handed batter, is just having everybody move over into right field and in between second base and first base. Mm-hmm. So, if the guy's left-handed, the odds are he's going to be able to hit that way. Now, the real talented players, they'll hit the ball where it's pitched. So if the guy gets a ball, say, outside and he's left-handed, then he can poke it to left field. If there's nobody out there,
Yeah.
then, the runners can advance.
Well-
So that was the reason for it.
Well, it seemed like last night that the Astros, in the latter part of the game, really understood, let's do line drives. Let's hit it on the ground, keep it on the ground. And they were getting runs and it was amazing. And it's like, it was almost like when y'all used to play softball, when you play softball, that you knew how to hit it just over the infield where it took a bounce, and that's what it started doing. And it's like they were all doing it on purpose. And I kept asking you, now, did he mean to hit that?
If you went to an academy today and watched the parents send their kids to play baseball, kids are taught from a very early age to swing up on the ball. Now, why is that? Well, the deep-seated reason for that is if you swing up on the ball, you're more apt to hit it over the fence, and that's where the money is.
Yeah.
The home run hitters are the guys that make the most money.
But
The guy that you saw last night hitting those line drives, Dubon, the second baseman, he specializes in that because he's a slight-built guy, and he knows he can't hit it over the fence consistently. But he also knows if he can get his on-base average and his batting average up, then he's got a place in the major league for the 10 years they need to get their retirement. And so that's why a guy hits like that. I mean, the glory is in swinging up on the ball and knocking it over the fence. Those are the people that you're going to remember after the game.
right.
But what you saw, you should remember Dubon, because he hit several line drives that advanced runners and scored runs.
Right.
You know,
And Maldonado was amazing. Now, see, I always was against him because I thought, oh, why do they have to have him come up and bat when we got people on base? Because I didn't think that he could do very well. He wasn't consistent at all. But, man, he's done great. And the guy that's playing Altuve's place right now,
Dubon.
yeah. Oh, that's okay. I didn't realize that was the guy. Anyway, that he really did well. And was Duvon one? He wasn't the one that jumped up and got that.
No, that was Pena, the shortstop.
Pena. Okay. Yeah, I like Pena. I like him too. He's doing really well. But see, we used to know everybody's name, and then everybody's sick. There's like how many? 5 people that
They're
are
not
out.
sick.
Okay.
They're hurt.
Okay.
That linguine really got to them.
Yeah, they're not out back puking. They're actually
Yeah.
in rehab.
Well,
And now they got 2 of their starting pitchers look like they're maybe twanged for a while.
oh no. Well, the Rockabye Baby guy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
last night he's the one that hurt his elbow or something.
Oh no, because he couldn't then rock.
And then Javier, the night before, he hurt his shoulder or
Your
something.
Urquidi.
Yeah, Urquidy. Yes,
Urquidy.
Yeah,
Urquidy.
You quit, yeah, you quit, yeah. And they were good. They did good. And then so they had to use somebody they called up from the minors to start pitching.
Yeah, that kid. Well, he's actually not a kid. He's in his late 20s, I think. He played with them last year.
Balick. I don't know how to pronounce it. He pitched for like 3 innings, I think, 4 innings.
Yeah, and he played a lot in 2021, and then he got sent down to the minors in 22, and I think he came up for like 3 or 4 games last year, and he did okay, but he's not destined to be much. I mean, he's just a fill-in kind of guy.
Do you have any feeling like you think the Astros are going to go all the way and Mattress Mac will have to pay? Do you think that?
Oh, she wants to go shopping.
It all depends on pitching. If these guys come back and they're as good as they were last year, yeah, they can easily go all the way because they've got a great bullpen.
I wonder.
But the problem is if they don't get the starting pitching working good, then they'll wear out the bullpen, and the bullpen will be torn down by the end of the half of the season, and then by the end of the season they'll be completely worn out.
But
Because the Phillies proved last year, what you're after, you're not necessarily after winning the division. You just want to get to the playoffs.
right.
You get to the playoffs, and if you're running hot, which is the way playing baseball goes, you have hot streaks, you can get into the World Series like the Phillies. The Phillies didn't have a very good record last year, but they won, they got in, I think, as a wild card, or they just barely won their division. I can't remember which, but they didn't look like they were going to make it most of the year. And the Astros, you knew they were going to make it from mid-season because they had such a great record. They won 20 in a row or something to start the season.
Well, we need to get all those hurt guys back on the field. And Altuve will be on at the end of the month. They announced yesterday. At the end of the month, he should be back on the field.
Yeah.
So that's exciting because but he looked like he lost some weight. They showed a picture. He was in the dugout, and it looked like he had gotten skinny.
Well, most good teams have
poor
a
thing.
catalyst. And Altuve's been the catalyst for the Astros for a
Yeah.
long time. Even when he has a down year, he's still the catalyst for that team. And a lot
Right.
of it is just because of the aura about the way he plays. He hustles real hard. You can tell he cares a lot. He sits there and he watches every play. He's not there sitting there, talking
Right.
about last night's whatevers.
And he's such a good cheerleader for everybody, and that's what I like about him. But all the girls like him, and the women like him because he's just so sweet and kind. Some of those guys just look intimidating. They're just, and too aggressive. Plus, if Dusty doesn't start taking out pitchers, like when I'm yelling at the TV, take him out. He looks tired. He's thinking about something else. His wife yelled at him, take him out of the game.
Yeah, well, he's old school, and that's not what he's thinking. What he's thinking is he has to stretch his pitching staff for the entire season. And what really enables you to win divisions and World Series are your bullpen. And he's trying to protect that bullpen. So if he can get an extra or 2 inning out of that starting pitcher now, it makes a difference as time goes on over 162 games.
Well, it sure is frustrating for the viewer. I know you don't care, but
Well, that's what I mean about there's a lot more to baseball than just watching people hit the ball over the fence and run around the bases and slide in a cloud of dust and all that type of thing. All these things behind it, which was the old school way to view baseball as a fan and as a player, the game changes. and not saying it's necessarily a bad thing. It's just people change, so whatever people do and how they do it, that has to change with them.
But don't you just love me coming over there and watching the game with you in your man cave?
Yeah, I do.
See, and I have such good input into the game because, I played enough softball. That's all I played was softball because they wouldn't let me play hardball. I was always so jealous of the guys that played, and they got to play. They were on teams and all that, and the only thing the closest I could get is to run for queen of that team. And you'd go and you'd put a cup in the different drugstores and stuff, and people would put money in it. And the one that got the most money in there, got to be queen for the team. And that's all I could do. But I wanted to play so bad. And during the summer, going out to the field while they were, kids were just practicing all the time. They played all the time. And it was great. It was so much fun. And the very best hot dogs and corn dogs that you could ever get was at a baseball game, a little league baseball game. Don't you agree?
To be honest with you, I don't know that I ever ate a hot dog or a corn dog at a baseball game.
Okay.
But they didn't have Major League Baseball in Houston through most of my life.
Well, no, I'm talking about.
I went to the Buffs games, the
No,
Houston Buffs.
I'm talking about the Little League games. I'm talking about Little League, playing Little League. And they had food there at the games and stuff. And it was great
Not
food.
in my day, they did.
Oh, they didn't. Okay. Y'all still in those dusty field, and you had to. What was the bases?
You had to eat dirt to prove you were tough enough to play on the team.
And then what were your bases made of?
Well, actually, we had bases that were like everybody else's bases in my day. It was just a different deal. They didn't have concession stands and stuff like that. Because when I played Little League Baseball, it was if I'm not mistaken, it was like the first year they had Little League Baseball in Houston.
Really?
And there were only like 2 fields that you played on.
Oh, my goodness. Well, see, Sam's older than I am. He's only 7 years older than I am, but 7 years makes...
During that era, there was a lot going on, and a lot of
50s.
things changes in 7-year periods.
And Sam is always going back and saying the 50s were the best.
But here was the deal. When you went out to play, you went out for the team, and the coach would start evaluating you. You were either good enough to make the team or not. And there was no repercussions or anything if they said, come back next year, you're not good enough. So you went home and you found something else to do, for the summer.
Yeah. Now it's everybody wins.
Then, they didn't carry as many guys on the team. I don't remember exactly how many they did in Little League, but it was probably no more than maybe 12 or 15 guys, something like that. It wasn't a bench full. And if you weren't good enough to play, then the only time you ever got to play is if somebody got hurt. They didn't like, oh, well, you have to play because the rules of the game say you have to play.
Yeah.
So I know Carl, my best friend, and I started playing at the same time. We were both 8 years old on 12 and under teams. And I think neither one of us got to play more than 3 innings during the whole season. But we went to every practice. We went to every game. And that's the way we learned.
Yeah, sure.
And so by the time we were 9 or 10 years old, we were playing with the big guys and actually getting to play. But the thing was, there was no trophies given just because you were on the team.
Yeah, that's
the trophy
totally different.
was given to the winning team, period. Okay? Which made you strive harder to want that trophy.
And they wouldn't let the parents or the people sitting in the stands. Nowadays, you can't go, hey, come back, swing batter. And you are yelling swing batter, and the kid doesn't know whether is that my coach or is that my mom saying that? But they get nervous and they swing anyway. And you think, and that was really cruel. I feel kind of bad about that you'd get the kid nervous and he would go ahead and swing. But it was a dog-eat-dog world at that time, listen, we wanted to win, and but the parents wouldn't get out on the field and fight or anything like that. That was good.
Well, you say dog eat dog world. It worked.
Yeah.
We didn't have the same kind of problems then that the society's dealing with now.
Now, see, Sam and I will we'll talk about. I mean, I was born in '48, so I didn't have much of the '50s until 55 or something, where I started realizing where I was. But that it was a good time. It was a lot of stuff was going on, but I was in the '60s. My teenage years and all that stuff were in the '60s, and so which was a tumultuous time, but still it was. I wasn't. He didn't like the fact that I was born in the '60s and that the independence of the woman, how independent the woman wanted to be, and that was strange for him. But I was enough on the '50s side where all I saw was the woman was going to be taking care of the home and the children, and would.
Well, that was the beautiful part about it. That's not you're given a feminist view of it, and that's not necessarily the way it was. Okay, there was change taking place, and that was what made the '50s so beautiful. It was a time of innocence and a time of change, and innocence was being sacrificed for a lot of these changes that came along. I'm not saying they're bad changes; they were inevitable.
Right.
They were going to happen,
right,
no matter what. But to have lived during that time and been able to experience things like, for example, simple things like being perfectly content and not knowing any better, and you lived in a house that had no air conditioner in Houston.
Yikes! Yeah.
But you were happy. The thought that I wish I had an air conditioner never entered into your mind.
No.
The thought of being raised up until I was like 13 or 14 years old with no TV set. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
But I had other things that I did and that I learned how to do to keep myself entertained, and I was a lot more entertained doing those things than after the TV set came. And of course, the great thing about it in my day was they weren't with two programs, so it didn't take much of your time to watch them.
and the TV didn't come on until 4:00 in the afternoon.
Yeah, and a lot of times you sit there and watch the test pattern waiting for
That's
it to
right.
come on.
Because you knew that that feather was moving. It had to be moving. But I think that the difference in our age and the era and all that stuff, the feminist era, it was the women were doing all the work and keeping the war going on and keeping the guys in the war, and they were taking the guys' jobs and doing that. And then when the guys came home, all those women were sent out in the cold.
That was the catalyst for what is going on in today's world and why women are much more of a functional part of society in general at all levels,
right,
than they were back then. And the way it was back then, it worked, and it worked fine, and women ought to be thankful instead of griping about the way things were. You ought to be thankful that they morphed into what they are today.
right.
I mean, that's the great thing about living in this country. That happened, and it's a good thing, okay? But that doesn't mean that the way it was a bad thing.
Well,
my grandparents were Victorian.
yes, yeah, they
And
were.
you talk about male domination. When my grandfather walked down the street, my grandmother, who was like 4 foot, whatever, little short lady, was 10 yards behind him everywhere they went.
Now, is that because he just walked faster, or because
No, that was just, I'm giving you an example
was that
of
respect?
the way it was in society in generally about men versus women's place in the world.
But I mean, was she doing that out of respect, or what? Or what? Why
She was doing
doing
that because that was her place. She didn't know any better. Women had never experienced the liberal things that women have experienced over time since that point. And World War II was the straw that broke the camel's back on what was left over of that Victorian influence. Now, that's my opinion. A lot of people would probably disagree with it. And that's the great thing about being almost 82 years old.
You can say
I
anything.
don't care.
Well, Cindy, there's also other societies that were around that time that had completely different cultural expectations between men and women.
Well,
Because in his experience, he talked about America, and that's what they're doing here. But in England and then also in India, like
right.
totally different.
Well, and even today.
Yeah, even
I
today,
mean,
like you go to any Middle Eastern country, there's a whole like structure to women's places in their society.
well, look
Right.
at Afghanistan. Look what happened when the Taliban took back over. All those rights the women had won
Yeah.
and all that type of thing, they're gone.
Yeah.
No questions.
They can't be educated past what, the fifth grade or something like that.
I
If
think it's
that far.
12. Like that. Yeah.
No,
No,
it's not
12 years
that far.
old.
Well, 5th grade is 12.
Whatever, is that it?
Yeah, 12 years old.
Yeah.
So if I understood what was going on around me. I understood the music scene. I understood that there was a lot of division, and that teenagers and college students were going crazy and trying to take over the colleges, and the war effort, to try and protest the war and everything. I understood that, but but my family, what they would say about it and talk about how horrible it was, the way the teenagers were doing and what they were doing and all, and going to church every Sunday and every Wednesday night and all that, gave me a different mindset where it wasn't totally, I didn't go crazy. But you felt like I was a real product of the 60s.
No, I think you're a blend because you got enough of a dose of the 50s to at least, if we talk about it, you understand what I'm talking about.
Right,
Okay.
right. Yeah.
But I think the 60s had probably a big influence on you. There's no doubt about it. The 60s had an influence on me. I mean, I was in my 30s through the 60s, and a lot of that didn't come easy.
Right.
All that psychedelic stuff and whatnot. I mean,
Right.
I wasn't having any part of that.
No, I thought that was
All that
Every-
it's your thing, do what you want to do.
yeah.
I mean, I was brought up in an era where discipline was the number one thing.
Mm-hmm.
The first thing you learned if you wanted to be successful, and if you were lucky enough to have parents that knew how to do it right, was discipline.
What's that?
And I can give you a perfect example of why. Part of my education was at parochial schools with nuns, brothers, and priests. And I was able to develop a keen sense of discipline from that. And then the last part of my education, last 2 years of my education, were in public school,
Right.
where it was completely and totally the opposite.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it was nothing like today. There was 10 times more discipline in the public schools then than there is now. But the point is, your life evolved around being able to take care of yourself. You learned from the time you were little. Society does not take care of me. I take care of myself. I think for myself, and that's how I stay out of trouble. When I start letting other people think for me, that's when I start to slide.
Mm-hmm.
So you learn independence, you learn self-confidence, you learn how to think on your feet. All those things came from that era. I'm not saying they can't happen now, but it's not as easy now.
But I'm telling you, there's a general came out recently and said, here's the best advice I can give you about raising your kids. Make them make their bed before they leave the house, because that sense of, responsibility and how good they feel when they come back and know that bed's made and all that, just have them make their bed. And that was his only advice to that. And I know you've said that forever. And
Well, every journey has to start with a small step, and that's the message he was sending.
right.
Get started with doing something for yourself that you don't particularly want to do. Because
No.
guess what? If you're going to survive out there, you're going to be doing stuff all day long you don't want to do
I know.
to get to the part that you do want to do.
But making that bed every morning, and then how many times I take a nap and have to remake the bed 3 or 4 times is just, I don't know if I can
Well,
stay
here's
up
the
with
message I give our grandkids all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Life is 50-50. 50% of it is toil, pain, if you want the gain. The other 50% is as close to heaven as you're going to get on earth. But you can't have that plus side unless you can cope with and manage the other side. Amen.
Now, you all get the songbooks out the back of your
Right.
pew and let's stand and sing.
My sermon for the day.
Yes, that's right. But not, are you kidding me?
No.
Really? We only have 2 minutes left.
My heart's broken.
There goes my speech and everything. Mr. Sam Cochran, I sure appreciate you coming over. And I appreciate you taking me here, bringing me here.
Well, don't ask if you don't want to know.
Okay. I know that's true. That's true. Keep your mouth shut and don't even ask for it. And the kids always say, I think I just got my last lecture for today. And so it's good. Sam has a lot of advice, good advice, and he accentuated it with being able to tap it out on the table. And that's how he does all of his lectures better. Anyway, thank you so much. I love you very much. It's been 53 years. You're a great provider. You're so sweet. You're always there. And you saved my life twice this last in 2021.
Well, enjoy it while it lasts because it's fizzling fast.
Okay. Listen, guys, we'll be back tomorrow. And this is like, what do they call it when you have all your relatives or what's that called? They bring them into your...
Reunion?
No. Whenever you bring them into your business and you hire them...
Nepotism?
Nepotism. It's Nepotism Week because tomorrow we're going to talk to my sister who is premier CPA. She is amazing. I'm so proud of my sister. She's wait till you hear her expound on the taxes and how she's going to deal with armed IRS agents and things like that. It's going to be so much fun. So anyway, thank you, honey, and thank you, Carolyn, for being here tomorrow. It's going to be so great. And first responders, thank you, our first responders. We love you so much. We just think you're amazing. Love you. See you tomorrow.
This program is sponsored by the Wootton Financial Group. It is not the intent of Wootton Financial Group to render or offer personalized investment advice or financial planning advice through this radio program or any related website. Wootton Financial Group's participation in this program is limited to providing general information on financial matters and should not be construed as financial recommendation or investment advice. Investment advisory services are offered through Game Plan Advisors, Inc., a registered investment advisor registered with the Securities and Exchange Commission and the state of Texas. Insurance services are offered through Wootton Financial Group, Inc. Game Plan Advisors and Wootton Financial Group, Inc. are affiliated through common ownership, and neither firm is affiliated with The Cindy Cochran Show. No listener should assume that any information presented and or made available on this program serves as the receipt of or a substitute for personalized individual advice from Game Plan Advisors, Wootton